to A1R Psychic Radio and Moonstruck TV. You're here this evening with Amanda Hall Psychic, all the way from the Gold Coast here in Australia. It's lovely to have you join us again tonight all around this beautiful globe of ours. I hope you've had a very interesting week as Mercury went direct again last week, so communication should now be starting to smooth its pathway again, and people have their listening ears on, we hope anyway, that things start to get a little bit easier. And also the planet Venus of love and affection has gone direct as well. So we now have some astrological energy that's moving forward for a change. So it's time now for us to really sort of start to bunker down and sort of work out what we want to do with the remainder of 2017. Boy, isn't the year moving fast. So as we do on each week's show, we talk about what's happening in the universe and all around this beautiful globe of ours, no matter where you may live in this beautiful world. And we also look at a card of the week, a Simply Tarot card of the week. I was fortunate enough to design a set of tarot cards taken from the Rider-Waite concept about 12 years ago with a publisher here in Australia, and they're called the Simply Tarot cards, and they were designed for everybody to be able to teach themselves and enlighten themselves about the amazing world of tarot. So let's kick off the show tonight with what's actually happening in the universe around us and what can we expect in the next 7 days that we need to focus on. So this week our focus is going to be on the full moon. Now the full moon is going to happen on Thursday the 11th of May. So wherever you are in the world, Thursday the 11th of May is when the full moon energy is going to kick in for approximately 48 hours. We actually have the full moon is actually in Taurus. So it's interesting that we need to be sort of really being mindful of the things that are important to us in our lives, the things that make us feel secure. So it may be a time to sort of rattle around and have a look at our personal finances, make sure that they're all in order, that we've got all the accounts up to date, that we've put a little bit of money aside for a rainy day, and actually looking at whether or not we need to make any changes on a financial front. So this is the time to give energy to that sort of area of our life, our personal finances, not the finances we share with others, but our own personal spending habits and what we need to be looking at or changing in our lives. For some of us, it may just be a time of reevaluating the things that are important to us, the goals that we need to set for the remainder of this year. It may even be a goal that we need to set for the next couple of days, but it's also telling us to slow down just marginally. It's a time to catch your breath. It's a time to sort of nurture our soul a little bit. Do the things that give us pleasure, whether that's going for a walk in the park or watching our favourite movie or even just heading to the kitchen and cooking up a storm and creating a really nutritious, healthy family meal. That might be what you feel that you want to do in this next 7 days, and sort of just take the time out to enjoy that, because it is a time where we do need to nurture ourselves a little bit more and look after our finances as well and the things that are important to us. So heading on to our card of the week with the Simply Tarot card, this week we have a very apt card. It's called the Four of Swords. Now, it's interesting that it came up in correlation with the full moon in Taurus, because it's also asking us to take our time a little bit. It's the card that represents sickness, bed illness, needing to take some time out. Rest and relaxation is needed here. So it's not indicating that all of us are going to be sick, and it's not indicating that all of us need to head towards our bed and you know, take the day off. What it's indicating is that we all need to slow down a little bit. With the change of the seasons all around the globe, this is when we are a little bit more prone to picking up viruses and things like that. Our immune systems can be a little bit under the weather because of the change of the season. If you're here in Australia, you'll be heading out of summer and into the winter months, where we've had a pretty hectic time at the beach and out having a great time. And for those in the Northern Hemisphere, you're heading out of the winter time and coming into spring. So again, it's the change of the seasons that quite often lower our immune system. So we need to take really good care of ourselves in the next 7 days, and again, nurture our soul. So it's really interesting as we head through different parts of astrology. Each week I like to bring you a little mini astrology lesson so that you can understand a little bit more about the magical science that is astrology. Now, first and foremost, I must apologise. With Mercury retrograde, I got a little bit ahead of myself last week, being very excited that Mercury retrograde was coming to an end, and I jumped into our new 4-part series on the moon. It was only when I went back to put the information up on Facebook, as I do each week after we do the show, I realised we hadn't completed the sun. And I thought, isn't that a typical Mercury retrograde situation? Not even I, who works with astrology and has done for over 30 years, really took the time to go back and double check what we were up to. I just relied on my memory. And this is one of the little tricks that Mercury can play on us, that he gives us a little bit of a false sense of security, that we know exactly what's going on in our lives and what we need to talk about. So I do apologise for the remainder 3 signs that we didn't finish the sun. We are going to go ahead and do that today, so nobody has missed out. But you can see it's in living progress how a Mercury retrograde, even when it's nearing the end, can still play his little tricks on us. So the final part of our 4-part series of the sun, and the sun is your sun sign, your zodiac sign, or your astrology sign, whatever label you'd like to put on it. It's also showing us where the heart and soul of your chart is. So the remaining 3 signs that we have to work with today are Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. So the sun in Capricorn is a cardinal sign, I beg your pardon. It's an earth sign. And it relates to big business. It relates to the official things in our lives. So anything that you can think of that has an official label to it, whether it be a courthouse, a hospital, a doctor's surgery, anything of official situation is what is ruled by the House of Capricorn. It's where we look for big ideas, governments. We look for big institutions. We look for anything that's official in our lives that needs to be dealt with, connected with money. And it's also the money of big business. It's not individual or personal money, it's collective money. So if you think of Capricorn, that's why we always think of Capricorn being the goat. They eat anything. One of the first things I learned in astrology is Capricorns only have 1 meal a day. They start when their eyes open and they finish when they're about to go to bed of a night. So if you look at a Capricorn, they're always grazing or munching on something, and that's because they are the goat. They need to have small, frequent sort of meals. Now we're going to shift the energy to Aquarius. Now, Aquarius is one of the most misrepresented signs of the zodiac, I think. Aquarian sign is an air sign, and it's a fixed sign. So it means it's stubborn, determined, rigid, practical. It sort of likes to sort of have order in their lives, but its lymph or its symbol is the water bearer. Now, when I first got into astrology, I sat there and I scratched my head and I thought, well, they call it an air sign. They call it the sign of communication. Why would its lymph be the water bearer? To this day, it still mystifies me a little bit, but I think where it comes from is it's almost the sign of the 2 wiggly water bearer signs to me correlate with the ruler of Aquarius, which is Uranus. So I think it's almost like the energy being directed down the water bearer's symbols. So it's sort of like change. It's like opportunities coming out of nowhere. It's like that light bulb moment. It's like we're here 1 minute and gone the next. We've had this brilliant idea. So Aquarians do get bad press because a lot of people look at Aquarians and they think, oh, they're know-it-alls. They know everything. They'll just tell you if you ask them. You know, they have an answer for everything. They have an opinion on everything. And most times they do, but it's because they are well-read. They are well-informed. And it's just an automatic thing. If somebody starts talking about a subject, they add their interpretation or their input into it because it's who they are. It's like they feel they're helping you. It's just a very automatic response. Some Aquarians are seen to be aloof and have little or no emotions that they show. That's not exactly true. What the Aquarian energy does is it rationalises their emotions. It doesn't feel them in the pit of their stomach with the I feel. It's the I know. So they know their emotions. They know how they feel. They know which direction they need to take. So sometimes, you know, people look at them and think they're a little bit aloof, they're a little bit cold, they're a little bit even arrogant. They're not necessarily any of those things. It's just they're in their deep thinking space and they're their information is being processed like the hard drive on your computer. So the next time you meet an Aquarian, give them a little bit of space and sort of, if they're looking a little bit distant, you know that their little computer brain's working overtime, processing the knowledge that they are receiving at that point in time. One of my other little favourite stories about Aquarians that I'd like to share with you, when I first got into astrology many, many, many years ago, I was going on a girls' night out with the mothers from playgroup when my children were little, and we all had to put down on a piece of paper what our star sign was. And there was one lady there that we've been friends for over 30 years now. She turned up and she put her name down on the thing, and I just took one look at her and I thought she'd have to be an Aquarian. She had an orange dress on, pink shoes, green handbag and purple accessories. And I thought only an Aquarian would dare to be that different. And actually it looked fantastic. But if you'd been a fashion person, you would have said, oh, no, they're all no-nos. You don't put that combination together because it's wrong. But she did, and it looked great. So that's a little bit about Aquarians. Now we're going to move to our final sign, and it's certainly not the last or the least of the zodiac. It's actually one of the most powerful signs of all, and that's Pisces. Now, I firmly believe that Pisces has the power or the wisdom of all the previous 11 signs, and it's sort of like it's all gathered together in the Piscean energy. I know many astrology books I've read over the years call it the dustbin of the zodiac. I totally disagree with that. I don't think it's where we dump the stuff that we don't want. I actually think the Pisceans have the ability to be, because they are flexible, because they are a mutable sign and they are a water sign, and they are related to like the steam coming off the kettle, they have the ability to be flexible, mould themselves, absorb and utilise any of the positive and negative traits of the previous 11 signs plus themselves. So it makes them very creative people. They have the ability to sort of go inside themselves, go inside someone else's emotions, come back out with a very positive direction that maybe the other person hasn't even thought of, because they don't see any boundaries. A lot of times people that are born under the sign of Pisces are given the bad press in as much as they say, oh, they're the Peter Pan of the cycle. You know, they don't wish to grow up. They don't like responsibility. They don't want anything negative in their life. That can be true, but they also have this very childlike way of looking at or dealing with a crisis where they don't put all the limitations or all the negatives or all the, oh, we can't do this because. They look at it and say, well, why can't we do this? Have you thought about doing it this way? You know, they peel everything back to a very simplistic type of way that they're looking at things and saying, well, anything's possible. So I would like to look at Pisces in that way as being almost the most powerful of the 12 signs, because it's the final one. It's had the opportunity to look at what all the previous 11 signs are doing well or not doing so well and adjusting it to their energy. So we're going to start taking some calls in a moment. So I'd just like to share with everybody, you can find this information on my Facebook page later after the show, Amanda Hall Psychic. I'd love you to join me there. I put up the card of the week, a little recap on what we've talked about with the full moon and the sun sign, our final part of our astrology series on that. Next week we'll continue on with our second part of the moon sign in your chart. So we're going to be taking a call, and it's Zoe in Denver, Colorado, USA. How are you, Zoe? Oh,
Hi.
Z, I beg your...
Yes,
Are you there?
me. Yes, I'm here.
How can I help you today, Z?
Well, I have a question on my home. I have it listed for sale. Do you see this sale coming anytime soon?
I do actually, Z. I feel that even though you've been frustrated that it hasn't moved quite as quickly as what you wanted it to, I do feel that there is actually going to be two people that are going to come at the same time, sort of one couple after the other, and it's sort of going to be a little bit of a war then at who actually gets to purchase the property. One is a younger couple with dark hair and they've got a couple of small children. Then there's another couple that only the husband comes out of the two of them, and they would be more what we'd call in the more mature years. They're in their sort of late 40s, early 50s mark. I actually feel it's the younger couple that will submit the better offer, but I can see the house being sold and I feel it's going to be sold fairly quickly. I do feel that you've got, it may not be this week, but I do think that we've got definite movement, definite contracts and opportunities for you to start packing in early June. So taking it from that, you must be getting a sale fairly quickly if you're starting to get the packing boxes out in early June. So I think any time from here, I think we can expect a flurry of activity with, you know, people viewing the property and things really starting to rev up again now. So, you know, there's nothing wrong. You haven't presented it in a way that isn't appealing to the public and you haven't got it priced wrong. It's just been a timing factor. And sometimes things just are just meant to sit there for a certain period of time and then all of a sudden everything moves. So have you got somewhere picked out, Z, that you want to move to?
No, that was going to be my next question. I don't have any place picked out.
Yeah, because they were showing me question marks around that, and that's why I brought it up. And it's like, will I go here? Will I go there? Look, I want to say to you, don't sort of get too, I mean, I know you've got to make some decisions, but I would just let your instincts or your own psychic ability guide you when the time is right. I think the first major thing we need to do is put the energy into getting the current property sold. Once we've got a contract on that, then I think we can move everything into high gear then about where am I going next? Am I going to stay in the local area? Am I going to make a change? I sort of feel I don't think you're going to go too far from where you are now. But I did feel the next property was going to be, they're showing me as a total surprise. So I can only take from their comment coming from Spirit that the total surprise is if you were going to go out and look for a 2-story house and that's what you had your heart set on and you end up buying a 1-level bungalow house, well, that would be a total surprise. So it's not exactly you set out to buy is what I think you're going to fall in love with. But what they did show me was the next place has got a lot of timber on the outside, and I also felt it had a very pointy roof with beautiful windows. There's a veranda or a porch or something on the front. We call them verandas here in Australia, but you guys call them porches, but it was a big one. It was like I could put furniture out there and I could sit out there and I could see you sort of sitting out there quite often with a cup of coffee or something like that and just enjoying the atmosphere of your new home and not necessarily meditating, but just allowing yourself to sort of sit there and just look out and sort of see what flows in and out of your mind. Have you been noticing this year that you seem to be getting more insight coming towards you? Like, you know, you could be just sort of sitting there chilling out and then all of a sudden all these thoughts run through your mind?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, well, that's the start of you really starting to tap into your own psychic or natural ability that we all have. We all have spirit guides that look after us and try and share messages with us about where, you know, what should be coming up next in our lives. And I think for most of us, we lead such busy lives, we forget to be still. We sort of tend to think, oh, I've got time to go into meditation. Everybody says it takes, you know, a certain period of time. What they fail to realise is that we can still get the power and the knowledge of meditation in something as simple as sitting outside with a cup of coffee and just staring out at the scenery and just allowing ourselves to be still and not thinking about what I've got to do for the day and just allowing it to come in and out like the flow of the tide. And that's as good as a meditation, because meditation is really about stilling our mind, allowing our guides to come through and share with us the information that they want to share with us. So you're doing that naturally, and that is going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. So was there other changes you were going to bring into your life too, Z, this year? Were you looking at changes in income with work?
I am. I'm actually starting a business. Do you see that as successful?
I do, actually. And is a lot of this going to be from the new home?
Hopefully so.
Yeah, because that's what I could see. I could see it all around the new home. So the new home's obviously got enough room for this to go on. But I also sort of feel that there's even more to come about with this new business than what you've even got in your mind yet. So I think the most important thing is we get the house sold, we get you moved into the new location, and then everything starts to flow in, Z, and it's really, really looking great. So I'm feeling very excited for you. I think June, July, August is sort of house move stuff, packing, unpacking, purchasing, all that sort of stuff. But we get to August, and then I think it's really all systems go, gearing up towards the self-employment.
Okay. Okay.
So
Wonderful.
you've got a very year ahead of you. So good luck, Z. Lovely to talk with you today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Bye now.
My pleasure. Bye-bye. Now we're going to go to Laurie in Warren in Pennsylvania. Are you there, Laurie?
Yes, I am. Hello.
Hello, how are you? What a lovely part of the world Pennsylvania is. I'm not exactly sure where. We'll look that up on the atlas after the show. How can I help you?
I was just wondering what you've seen in my future. Do you see my soulmate? And I just moved here, so I was just wondering. I don't know anyone, and I'm meeting family and all, and I was just wondering what you've seen for me, or if you see anything.
Okay, Laurie, my producers just put up that you're west of New York, so I have a vague idea now where you are in Pennsylvania. That's nice. Look, Laurie, the first thing I want to say to you is that I think you need to sort of be a little bit more accepting of the fact that you've made the right decision. Like making the move there really was the right decision for you, even though you haven't met anybody yet and everything sort of feels as if, you know, you can't sort of organise things the way that you want them to. I want to sort of say to you that things are going to slowly start to come together for you. I do actually feel you are going to meet a person that's going to be very significant and very special to you. I don't like to use the word soulmate, Laurie, because I sort of tend to look at soulmates as somebody that we have a lot of lessons to work through with. It's not always the person that we live happily ever after with and, you know, ride off into the sunset on the white horse, as people sort of perceive it. Soulmates are usually people that come into our lives, and quite often there's a lot of negotiation, there's a lot of lessons, there's a lot of karma that needs to be worked through. But as far as you meeting somebody that is the person that's going to excite your soul, somebody that you're going to have a very strong soul connection with, yes, I do believe that's going to happen. But I don't feel it's going to happen before September. I think there's other areas of your life, Laurie, that you need to get sorted out at the moment. Have you commenced work?
No, I'm an SSI. I see in 3 specialists.
Right. Okay, but
And so,
with that, are they sort of recommending certain treatments or sort of further things that you need to be doing to get your health right?
Yes, I have an appointment actually for one specialist in Erie, Pennsylvania. On the 24th, I think it is. And then my eye, Thursday, another specialist. And then my knee, I'm going to MRI. I can't.
That's going to keep you fairly busy, isn't it, while we straighten out your health situation?
Yeah.
But at this point, do you believe that you're going to be able to return to some sort of part-time work? Because I was actually seeing the opportunity of some part-time work coming for you.
Yeah, I could do some part-time work. Yeah, I could do that.
Get you out and about a bit more, you know, like, I mean, you've made the move there. You haven't really met too many people yet that you could start building up a social network with, and sort of, you know, like basically your social network's revolving around going to the doctor or, you know, going and having treatment. So, you know, we need to sort of broaden that a little bit. But I was seeing the opportunity of some part-time work, which I felt you could manage around your health at the moment. And that also was sort of helping to change your outlook, your energy that you're sort of sending out to the universe. You know, sometimes when we have such, you know, serious health concerns as I know that you've had, it's hard to keep positive, isn't it? It's hard to keep sort of motivated to sort of think that there's better days around the corner. You know, we sort of tend to be sort of so focusing on just getting through the day and attending to your, you know, your body's needs and sort of, you know, and it's not that please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. It's not that I'm saying you're being negative. I appreciate when you've got debilitating health issues that's got to be the number one focus, and it does. But I also sort of feel that we need to try and shift your energy just slightly so that we can sort of start to have something for you to hang on to. Laurie, that, you can see some sort of positive conclusion, or you can see some improvements in your life so that you can sort of start to make some plans for the future. That's what I feel is important. But is there more family around you where you are now?
Yes, I met my sister. I haven't seen her in 40 years, well, twice, and then another sister got adopted out when we were young, and I met her and seen her a couple times, and and my birth mother, and I'm an aunt, and oh my gosh, it's such a big family from that one sister, and my sister living downstairs, and I don't know, it's overwhelming.
Because there's a lot of emotion there that needs to be sort of sorted through. You've had a lot of changes in a short space of time. But I could just see all this flurry of activity of relatives coming here, there and everywhere, and you sort of feeling, well, hang on a minute, stop the merry-go-round. I need to just breathe here. I sort of get my bearings. But look, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I think it's a good thing, but I think you've just been overwhelmed. Look, I know that there's a lot of things that you're going to have to contend with in the next couple of months. Can I just say to you, take 1 hour at a time? I think that's the most important thing, Laurie, and I do feel you are going to find love again, and I do feel you've made the right move. And that's the most important thing I want to share with you, is you have made the right move. So, Laurie, I'd like to thank you for being part of the show. We've got less than sort of 30 seconds left, so I look forward to joining you all again next week, here, same time, same channel. And next week we'll be talking about the moon in your chart, along with this Simply Tarot card of the week. Don't forget, put your manifestation out there for the full moon. What is it that you want to draw to you in the next 7 days to the next 30 days? Very important that we write our intentions out of what we would like to bring to us. Bye for now. See you next week.